I mean, the common denominator here is Donald Trump, and Democrats are on the precipice of delivering a huge blow to Donald Trump in his second term. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just look? Democrats lead all the key races. You go to New Jersey governor. That's really the only close one. Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat, up by 6 points. Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, up by 10. And Zohran Mamdani, up by 16 points in New York City. The bottom line is this. Yes, there are ideological differences between the Democrats, but the key common component is they are all going after Donald Trump. And all the Democrats lead, from New Jersey to Virginia to New York City, they all lead the Republican and independent opponents.
How much is he impacting the cases? Never mind that they want to beat him in their minds. It's sort of like, hey, this is to show you that we can beat you. But how much is he affecting these?
I mean, look, Donald Trump is a huge drag in all of these races. Look at his net popularity ratings. In New Jersey, he's 11 points underwater. Virginia, 14 points underwater. Not much of a big surprise in New York. He's 35 points underwater. And I will note nationally in my aggregate of polls, he's about 13 points underwater. In our CNN poll, he's way below that, which looks a lot like New Jersey, a lot like Virginia. So these races, in my mind, could be huge bellwethers going into next year to understanding how Donald Trump is impacting these races. He is a huge drag in across the board, New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City.
So that is terrible news for Donald Trump. And in response to this disastrous polling and the likelihood, not guaranteed, the likelihood that in tomorrow's elections that the Republicans are going to get swamped, Trump is lashing out publicly at New Jersey, at New York City, at Virginia, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, Donald Trump seems to be feeling the pressure. Again, nothing's set in stone. It's possible that they squeak some victories, that they have an upset in New Jersey and Virginia, probably not in New York City. But all of that's possible. But right now, the statistics and the polling say Democrats are going to take all three. Trump's not handling it well because he sees this as a bellwether for what could come in 2026 and what is likely to come in 2026 if all else is equal, which is why he's working overtime to make it unequal. He's also, again, having a public meltdown with a series of unhinged posts. So he says, for all those people voting in New Jersey and Virginia for governor, attorney general, or any other position, please remember this. A Republican vote means a drastic drop in energy prices and energy costs, a drop like you've never seen before. A Democrat vote means a doubling, even tripling, of your energy bills and prices, traditionally the highest cost of an American citizen. So if you vote Republican, your energy costs are going to go down tremendously. If you vote Democrat, your energy costs are going to go through the roof, making energy virtually unaffordable for you and your family to pay. Also, remember, if you don't go to the polls and vote, it's the same thing as voting for a Democrat. So go to the polls and cut your energy costs in half. Of course, it's the same guy who promised that he would cut energy prices day one. He failed. He said he would cut inflation day one. He failed. Energy costs and inflation are actually increasing, not decreasing, on Trump's watch. So clearly Trump's promises, Trump's assurances about energy and costs aren't worth a damn because he's lied and lied again. He's doing the same damn thing he did before. He's bullshitting about what Republicans can and will do in order to solicit votes. But he didn't stop there, so he doubles down on it. So this is today. He goes, Virginia, New Jersey, remember this. A vote for Republican means substantially lower energy prices. A vote for Democrat, especially those two losers who are running. You know, sometimes he says things that anytime he says like the losers and the haters, it's like on the one hand, it's like, Jesus Christ, this is so unpresidential. On the other hand, it's just, it is funny in just this roundabout way. And that's how I think we should be talking about him. I'm looking forward to a President Newsom or a President somebody, a Democrat, who will talk about Republican lawmakers like this. Like this is where we are. So anyway, it's just, oh my God. So he goes, a vote for Democrat, especially these two losers who are running, means a doubling, tripling, and even quadrupling. So that's the other thing. So look, okay. Did you see the progression here? So yesterday, last night, he's like, a Democrat vote means a doubling and even tripling of your energy costs. Now he's saying means a doubling, a tripling, and even quadrupling of your energy costs. So now he's increased the factor by 4. And it's just like, this is what I mean. He just pulls shit right out of his ass. Like he has no understanding of mathematics or, you know, arithmetic or anything like that. It's like, you know what? That's why when he talks about how many trillions of dollars he secured in investments. First, it was 8 trillion, then it was 10 trillion, then it was 17 trillion, then 18, then 19, then 20, 21, 22 trillion. It's going to be 40 by the end of the week in his mind. And it's just, again, a toddler's perception and conception of consistency. And he just like, he's like, I need a bigger number. It's going to be $20 quadrillion, okay? So anyway, means a doubling, a tripling, and even quadrupling of your energy. It makes you wonder, like, will it be, by the end of this, will it say quintupling? Will it be like, quintupling? It's going to go up by 5. It will not be sustainable, and you will rue the day that you voted to destroy your life. Failing to vote tomorrow is the same as voting for a Democrat. Find your voting location at swampthevoteusa.com. Just, again, very funny. So, he's ranting, right? And it's getting worse. Well, now he's talking about the polls, and he's having another friggin' meltdown. Keep in mind, when we read this, what Harry Enton had to say. We've also got some specific polls about Trump as well. He says, so many fake polls are being shown by the radical left media, all slanted heavily towards Democrats and far left wingers. In the fair polls, and even the reasonable polls, I have the best numbers I've ever had. And why shouldn't I? I ended 8 wars, created the greatest economy in the history of our country, kept prices, inflation, and taxes down, and am setting standards for right track, wrong track for a future USA. Fake news will never change. They're evil and corrupt. But as I look around my beautiful surroundings, I say to myself, oh, look, I'm sitting in the Oval Office. Like, yeah, nobody's denying you're the president. You won the election. We're not like you. We're better than you. We're morally superior to you. We acknowledge when we lose. You don't acknowledge when you lose, which is often. That's the difference, one of the many differences between us. But he just can't, like, you think about it. It's like, no, you're clearly not just okay being in the Oval Office. Like, somebody who is secure in their position, somebody who is the most powerful and important person in the world and secure about it would be like, they would have one of 2 reactions to the polls. A reasonable person, they would say, well, who gives a shit what the polls say? I'm president and I'll be president for the next 4 years. Or they would say, damn, I won the election, but these are polls from like Fox News to the Wall Street Journal to, ABC, Reuters, NBC. Like, there's a consensus here that I'm underwater. Maybe I should change course. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe I am not as popular as I think I am. Maybe simply winning an election does not guarantee me popularity. It's never guaranteed any president popularity because time goes on after the election. Like a sane, mature person would think it. But no, he opts for option 3, which is, I won the election, therefore everybody loves me way more than they ever loved Democrats. And so everything's fake. Even the fair polls, I have like a 99% approval rating. And the 1% are losers and haters. That's how his brain works, right? And so, like, let's take a look at this for just a second. So Peter Baker, the New York Times. So Trump's approval rating per latest polls. NBC has him at 43%. CBS YouGov has him at 41%. The Washington Post, ABC, Ipsos has him at 41%. Economist YouGov has him at 39%. You know what? While I'm talking here, I haven't seen Nate Silver, his aggregate, in a minute. Let's take a look. How popular is Donald Trump? Happy Halloween, Silver Bulletin readers. If there's anything spooking Donald Trump today, it's probably his approval numbers over the past few days. At the start of the week, Trump's net approval rating and our average was negative 9.2. It's right around where it's been all month. But as of today, Trump's net approval rating has hit a new second-term low of 10.8%, so more than a full percentage point, about 1.6 percentage points. Why such a large drop? Because the polls this week have been consistently bad for Trump. He's seen some less negative results from Morning Consult, net -5, and Clarity Campaign Labs, -6, but everything else looks rough. Verisight strengthened numbers, -15, Quinnipiac University, -14, YouGov, The Economist, -19, Ipsos Reuters, -17, YouGov Yahoo News, -16, Navigator Research, -16. Even the pollsters that usually give Trump his best numbers, Rasmussen and RMG Research, have his approval rating underwater this week at net -8 and net -1%, respectively. Ooh, look at that. We're starting to see the gap again. Not good for Trump. So that's why he's lashing out at these people. Let's see here. Oh, my God. Okay, so that was Trump on the fake polls. Well, then he circles back to the election. And he has a lot to say about the New York mayoral race. So here's Trump's meltdown about that. Jesus. Okay, he goes, if communist candidate Zoran Mamdani wins the election for mayor of New York City, it is highly unlikely that I will be contributing federal funds other than the very minimum as required to my beloved first home because of the fact that as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. It can only get worse with a communist at the helm, and I don't want to send, as president, good money after bad. It is my obligation to run the nation, and it is my strong conviction that New York City will be a complete and total economic and social disaster should Mamdani win. His principles have been tested for over 1,000 years, and never once have they been successful. I would much rather see a Democrat who has a bad record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. He was nothing as an assemblyman, ranked at the bottom of class, and as mayor of potentially, again, the greatest city in the world, he has no chance to bring it back to its former glory. We must remember this. A vote for Curtis Silva, who looks much better without the beret, is a vote for Mamdani, and Silva is the Republican nominee. Like, that's how fucked up this is, right? So he's like, if you vote for the Republican, you're voting for Mamdani. Okay. He's like, whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not. Well, that is totally going to tank Cuomo's chances, which were pretty slim to begin with, right? Because New York City hates Trump. They know Trump the best, and the more you get to know Trump, the more you hate him, and so not good. Circling back to actually, let me say this just to put a button on the elections. Again, today is November 3rd. Tomorrow is November 4th, where these elections occur. Prop 50 in California, right? That will permit California to gerrymander, redistrict, to balance out, to neutralize what Texas is doing, try to rig the midterms in Trump's favor. You also, again, have gubernatorial races in Virginia and New Jersey. Again, hopefully people show up and vote Democrat because we definitely want to flip those seats. So those things are tomorrow. And again, no guarantee that the Democrats win all these. They're almost certainly going to win New York City. Probably, all things considered, going to win Virginia and New Jersey. But it's possible they don't. But the bottom line is this. Trump's really upset that the polls are saying what they're saying now. We want to make it a reality by eligible voters in these states and districts getting out and voting the right way. Hopefully they do that. Getting back to Trump, though. Trump's polling is still atrocious. So the Washington Post points out that poll finds most Americans doubt Trump's commitment to free speech and fair justice. Many Americans also don't seem sure what to make criminal cases against two of Trump's perceived opponents. The majority of Americans believe Trump is not committed to protecting freedom of speech, ensuring a fair criminal justice system, or preserving free and fair elections, according to a Washington Post ABC News Ipsos poll. Despite Trump's efforts to portray himself as a champion of free speech and an opponent of weaponized justice, he's failed to convince most Americans of his dedication to those principles. Let's take a look. He is certainly committed to owning firearms, right? But if you look at protecting the freedom of the press, only 36%. Freedom of speech, 42%. Democrats, and we are in deep shit polling-wise. We are polling better on that. Fair justice system, again, we're beating him on that too. Free and fair elections, beating him on that. Freedom of religion, he's closer, 49 to 52%, but Trump is losing to Democrats on free and fair elections, a fair criminal justice system, protecting freedom of speech, protecting freedom of the press. It's not good whatsoever. The poll also found a widespread belief that Trump is going too far in trying to expand the powers of the presidency, with nearly 2/3 of Americans saying so. A 58% majority saying he's going too far in targeting political opponents. Americans, by a large margin, also oppose the idea of Trump receiving a large payment from the federal government to compensate him for investigations into his conduct. Remember that $230 million payout. Yes, and agreed. People should strongly oppose this. 48% of Republicans, of course, a plurality of Republicans support it because it's a fucking cult. Staggering. About half of political independents say Democrats are committed to personal freedoms, fair elections, free elections, and fair justice system. And again, those numbers are swamping Trump, which is good. Let's see. I was trying to find the polls on. Okay, yeah, the public is less certain about what to make of his recent high-profile prosecutions of James Comey and John Bolton. The poll did not address the indictment against New York Attorney General Letitia James. Notably, in both cases, a significant portion. In Comey's case, 1 in 4 Americans say the charges were justified, while nearly 4 in 10 say they were politically driven. Roughly 1 in 5 say the charges were justified, and a little more than 1 in 3 say they were politically motivated. So again, not great numbers, but to be fair, there was also more basis for charging Bolton. than Comey. Letitia James and James Comey, those are just nakedly political cases with very little by way of substance. But again, this is what's pissing off Donald Trump. So not very good, and we'll be continuing to track the polls, especially because he seems to be a drag, an anchor on the Republican candidates, and hopefully that manifests itself in tomorrow's election results. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.